Guess what? We are all creative geniuses, all of us. You are, I am, and everybody else out here. Unlike having a vagina or a penis, creativity is actually something that we're all equipped with as human beings. It's like this superpower that comes with a switch. The thing is though that many people think they're not creative when in reality they just haven't flipped the switch yet. But what makes someone creative, and how come some people have their creative switch turned on all the way and some others struggle so hard to find it? Creativity sells itself as being mysterious in a way, but I personally don't actually think that it is. Because I've gone from being totally disconnected from my own creativity and a complete lack of creative confidence to unleashing my creative energies and owning being a creative in my work and being a creator and an artist. It was a bit of a journey, but I did get here eventually. Because I don't necessarily come from a very creative family, and I didn't study anything creative either. Even though I really wanted to go to photography and film school when I was a teenager, but I just didn't think that I was good enough, and so I didn't even try. Looking back, I was always very creative, but I suppressed it really hard just because I didn't believe in myself. To me, being creative means looking at something in a new way and then producing something that can be shared with others. Or not. It can just be for yourself. It's important to mention that our brains, they rarely ever really imagine something out of thin air. And so being creative is really just a process of coming up with new and useful ways to combine old ideas. It's the ability to develop meaningful connections between existing parts of your reality. So Steve Jobs, for example, he combined the iPod with the telephone to create the iPhone. Or Casey Neistat, he combines filmmaking and cinematography, storytelling with homemade vlogging style videos.
Today is Monday, my favorite day of the week.
In its essence, the creative process is really just a lot about thinking, discovering, exploring, and a lot of imagining. But it's hard to come up with unique creative ideas that are really amazing. Or is it? Because it's not like we can just press a button and boom, an amazing idea jumps out. Creativity is non-linear. And some of the best creative ideas that I've ever had, they just came to me unexpectedly, which to me makes the creative process just so fascinating. So yes, it might be hard to plan to have eureka moments and epiphanies and super crazy creative ideas, but we can create a fertile soil, a garden that blooms, that welcomes creativity and gives it a home. And ultimately, that increases the chance of creating more and more awesome stuff. And at the same time, being creative just brings a lot more fun into your life and your work in general. Fully embracing my own creativity really changed my life and the work that I do in so many ways. It's amazing. And it also helped me overcome depression and heartbreak several times. And once unleashed, it's like there's this inner drive that pushes you to create and express yourself all the time. It's something that I see in many other inspiring creators and artists. It's almost like a drug we have to create. We as human beings are by nature creative beings. We all have a second energy center, a second chakra, which holds all of that creative power. And even if there's no manual that you can read on how to be creative and have really amazing ideas, there are habits that I utilize and that I see so many other really amazing artists and creators use as well, that help us grow this garden, this fertile soul for creative ideas to come. So what do highly creative and successful people do? How do they set themselves up to be creative and create really awesome work? Well, number one, they create a lot. Because if you want quality, you have to start with quantity. The best artists, they create a ton of work throughout their lifetime, and most of it the world probably never gets to see. Georgia O'Keeffe, the amazing painter, she made over 2,000 paintings. Or Emily Dickinson, she wrote 1,800 poems. A lot of times we only see the best work, that people created, but we don't actually see the body of work that they had to produce to get to that really successful piece. In order to find your creative voice, you have to use your voice a lot. The more you create, the deeper you dig into what your own voice really is and that uniqueness of it and your own originality. And so great creators, they make it easy to create. And I highly recommend you do the same thing. For example, I bring my camera everywhere I go, or my laptop or a notebook, so I can write and film and take photographs. And so that there's no excuse to not create. Number 2, they create space to actually be able to receive ideas, eureka moments, and inspiration. What do I mean by space? As a creator, we have to create inner and outer space through mindfulness practices like meditation or going for walks, or just drinking coffee and staring at the wall. We have to understand the value of a focused and clear mind, and mindfulness practices really help us to open the space, open the gates, and actually hear the messages and ideas coming through. And also spending time in solitude is so important for us to access our own creative well. Number 3, the most amazing creators I know, they're committed to show up every single day. They head on what Steven Pressfield calls the resistance. Let it be procrastination or other fears of not being good enough maybe. But a real committed creator has to face that every day and be committed to overcome it. And I believe that that is the difference between a professional and an amateur. The amateur always making excuses to not create, to not do the thing. The professional just shows up. You can't just wait for inspiration to strike, because the best ideas and eureka moments and epiphanies, they come because of the work leading up to them. Action stimulates inspiration way more than inspiration stimulates action. And the muse, it won't come and visit you unless you actually show her that you truly committed to doing the work and that you truly committed to showing up. And so doing actual creative work isn't that sexy. A lot of times we all just sit at home or in our rooms and do the work and create. Because as they say, creativity is only 10% inspiration and 90% showing up every day. It's really that simple. And I love what Picasso says, that in order to know what you're going to draw, you have to begin drawing. From all of my research, one thing really stood out, and that is that the most creative and successful people out there, they all have daily rituals and daily routines that they follow on a daily basis. They help them get into the flow and create their best work. They know what times work best for them to write or create. For some it's super early in the morning at 5 a.m. and for others it's they stay up late until 3 a.m. in the morning. And if it wasn't for my own daily rituals and my morning routine, I know I'd struggle so much harder to create. Number 5, they're willing to create imperfect, unsexy, and sometimes even bad work. The great creators out there, they don't care too much about perfectionism, and they learn to get out of their own way. We have to give ourselves the permission to suck, because otherwise resistance will kill us and your work. The act of creating something, no matter how lousy and bad it is, it's all practice for creating something better down the line. Steve Jobs rightly said, real artists ship. And I also believe that a creation is never really finished, because you can just keep going and keep going, but never ever bring it to an end. My videos, my photographs, my writing, none of it is perfect, but I put it out there anyway. Number 6. The most amazing and the most creative and successful people out there, they're so curious. They find inspiration in everything and everywhere. They're observant of their environment by nature and curious about other people's lives. It's like once you flip that switch, once you turn it all the way up, it's almost as though you're constantly walking around with this gate into your creative brain wide open. And I feel like with this curiosity as a creator also comes the desire of wanting to try out new stuff and embrace new ideas and concepts, which I generally believe is the key to a meaningful life and creating meaningful work. Number 7, the creators that I know that really inspire me, they take time to play regularly and in the way that they work. It's also something that I've embraced so much more over the last couple of years, to just do things out of the sheer joy of them, not because they serve a higher purpose or because I have to achieve something. We think that play is just for children, but it's important for a 5-year-old as much as it is for a 50-year-old. Play raises our frequency, believe it or not, and it gets us into the vibration so that creativity can strike. So for me, play is going out and skateboarding and surfing and dancing and drawing, or just daydreaming or playing in the ocean. It really gets me out of my head and into my body, which in turn helps me to lose track of time and get into the flow at the end of the day. And that's the best way to be when you're creating. Play also helps us to connect our intuition, which is the place from which some of the most creative people create their best work. And I also notice that when I follow my intuition as I'm creating, really awesome stuff comes out. So, my friends, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in more content around the topics of being a creator and minimalism and creating a better life, intentional lifestyle design, I want to call it, then hit that subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so you always know when I'm putting out a new video like this. You can also follow me on Instagram at conni.biesalski or at Conni Creates, which is my more creative outlet. And finally, I have a newsletter that might be of interest to you, in which on a weekly basis I share some of my insights and resources that help me to live a more meaningful life and create the stuff that I do. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.